Hello gentlemen, my name is Dick DeVoe and my topic is member relations. I have with me Brad Hatcher, who is the member relations chairman for a very successful branch. And we will be discussing the member relations functions such as guests, new member orientation, new member integration into the branch, as well as the retention of existing members. So Brad, let's start with guests. What is important about the first-time guest?
Dick, we find that we've really only got one shot at getting that guest converted into a member. We literally want him to sign up at that meeting because we find that if he doesn't, the follow-up necessary to bring him in as a member begins to diminish.
So first times are so important. As a matter of fact, some branches convert guests at a ratio of one guest to one member. But there are many branches that convert, say, 1.5 or more guests to a member. It takes a lot of guests to make a member. So how in the world do we get a great first impression?
It starts in our branch with our greeters. They literally know that the guest is coming, and one of their jobs, besides welcoming him, is to show him where his sponsor is.
What happens then before the meeting begins?
The guest has an already established name tag which he can wear, and typically the sponsor takes him to the place where they'll be seated. We have a member guest table that is separate from the other tables. That allows folks in the audience to know where guests are so they can appropriately introduce themselves. At that table is his name as well as his sponsor name in a place card. When the guest is converted to new membership, we typically, after the luncheon meeting, have a guest orientation which allows him and his sponsor to meet various people within the organization. That typically includes the membership chairman, the activities chairman, and usually Big and Little Sir are there as well.
So what happens at the orientation meeting itself?
The new member is handed a brochure. It has a great deal of information about SIRS, but we really use that as a template to have others in that room explain to him what his duties might be, what dues are. Our follow-up typically is 5 to 6 months after the member is inducted. We make a phone call to double check and see how they're doing. We're trying to make sure that they are comfortable with the activities they're in, and if they're looking to participate in new activities, is there anything we can do to try to help them into those new activities. We remind him that the core of the group is to bring new members into the organization, and we also ask and offer the opportunity to come to a board meeting so they can get an understanding of how the branches are operated.
What's the member relations role with existing membership?
We're really trying to make sure that the congeniality of the group stays the way it is. We're an ear to the ground, trying to understand what may be any problems that we surface. It's just an idea to make sure that the operation of the branch goes well. I mean, one of the things we do to remind existing members of the activities, we run a slideshow loop prior to the luncheon that shows activities.
I would call that attacking attrition that is controllable, that is preventable. We have some branches that have relatively large percentage of turnover. And we have those situations where the members that leave don't find sufficient reason to stay. So what kind of feedback do you get from the membership to help improve that situation?
We run a survey once a year. It's pretty broad brush. It asks for opinions on various topics, and we in turn pass along the results of that to the branch executive committee.
And what are the types of things you've found in a survey like that?
Well, we had a problem at one time with food. We found out that the audio-visual equipment that we had really wasn't working all that well. We found out that introductions to guests and new members was taking too long. We also found that there was a lot of side table talk going on while the program was going. We've tried to hush that up a bit.
So you guys are doing a lot of good things. What does the BEC know about what you're doing?
BEC is absolutely informed. I have a slot on our BEC agenda. I'm literally there, and it's my job to report on anything that happens that we see that may be helpful to the operation of the branch.
There you have it, gentlemen. Member relations is a very important part of the organizational structure of a branch for the future. I'd like to now discuss learning points for member relations. The first item is you only have one shot at a first-time guest. Make it your best one. Secondly, first impressions are lasting impressions. Make sure the guest has a printed name tag, he knows where to sit, you provide a printed name card at the table, you would introduce him around, you introduce him and his sponsor at the luncheon and have them stand. You provide him with a guest package with information about the branch and an application. At the completion of the luncheon, you ask him what he thought of the experience, you assess his degree of interest, and then hopefully you'll ask him to join. Make sure you have a new member orientation on the day he is accepted for membership. Include in that orientation the new member sponsors, the member relations chairman, the membership chairman, the activities coordinator, and the big and the little sirs. In the orientation, stress the importance of joining activities, bringing guests, and serving as well as being served. And when asked to be a volunteer, the expected answer is, I'll give it a shot. Call the member back after 5 or 6 months and check to see how he's doing, if he's joined activities, and what we can do to provide him a better SIR experience. Your Member Relations Committee is responsible for assessment of the entire member experience, from the attractiveness of the facility to the effectiveness of the program and the value of the food. A periodic survey of members is important, and suggestions for such a survey can be found on the state website, as well as contacting the Growth and Membership Committee. Effective member relations can reduce turnover 5% a year because it helps the branch provide value to its members.